I think you'll hear several references that goes back to honoring ancestors, and that's very important in the American Indian community, as well as the African American community. There was a reference that the aunt or the grandparent only wants to be remembered. And someone has said that if you look back years and years and years ago, that all of those ancestors created us. And so we owe them allegiance to remember that and keep that in mind. So we'll look for a book signing next year? Next year. Next year.
By September the 3rd.
Okay. Okay. Richard Procello.
Richard Procello, excuse me. I really wasn't attuned to my heritage, although I was very well aware, probably around age 7, that we had, quote, Indian relatives or Indian blood. And that occurred when I visited Oklahoma with my grandmother, and her brother, her half-brother, basically was a person who looked black and Indian, a combination of that heritage. And later on, my mother would visit some cousins who were from Oklahoma. So I had a general sense of who I could identify with, but I didn't really feel very strongly about it. I didn't feel associated with them at all. Until I was 55 years old. My mother died, and she had in her closet 200 bags of stuff. You know, the trash, not the trash bags, but the bags from the markets. She had recipes, photographs, card. I don't think she threw a card away in her entire life. So each bag was 9 inches long, and there were about 200 of them. It was neatly stacked in the closet. So I spent 2 weeks going through every piece of paper looking for diamonds. Diamonds would be documents turned to our family history. So I found one that changed my life. This is the document I found. It's an enrollment document. Just a brief history of the Southeast tribes. There was an Indian Removal Act passed in 1830. Where all the Indians from the Southeast were removed and put into Indian Territory, which became the state of Oklahoma. And that occurred between 1832 and 1839. So once the Indians were settled in Oklahoma, they were there until after the Civil War. And then you had the Curtis Act, and you had the Land Allotment Act. So not only were they displaced from their former area where they lived, they were going to be displaced in Oklahoma because it became a state. And in that process, people had to apply to be eligible for land, 160 acres of land. So 250,000 applied, 100,000 qualified, and amongst those that qualified was my great-grandmother and my grandmother and my half-uncle. And even in that process, I found out through more research that 30 members of my family were on the original rolls. So the tragedy was that the Indians who qualified as Indians, who were citizens of their tribes before that process began, got the land. But the irony is that since they were displaced from where they lived, they didn't have jobs, they didn't have income. So they ended up selling large portions of the land because that's how they survived. And there were some allocations of dollars from the federal government, but that was very, very small in America speaking. So once I found the document, here I am, 55 years old when I found this document. So to me, I'm the family historian, and it was wonderful to find this document. And as a result, I wrote a book. I wrote a book about my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and my Indian heritage, which includes photographs and histories, history of the tribe, and so forth. And as a result of this, 30 of my family and cousins have now become members of the Muskogee Creek Nation. So the book had some power, had some influence. Now in terms of identification, I really resisted identifying closely with my Indian heritage because I was raised black culturally, emotionally, psychologically. So all of a sudden become part Indian in terms of my emotional change was difficult actually. So I kind of resisted that. But as time has passed, and because I'm more involved with my history, I become more associated with my multi-heritage background, basically. And what was so powerful was the and I'll go back to the land allocation process. Each person had to testify before a commission why they should be eligible to receive land. So I have here a document that actually records the testimony of my great-grandmother before the commission. And I'll just read a brief, small parts of it. What is your name? Sally Knoll. Are you a citizen of the Muskogee Nation? Yes, sir. What town do you belong to? Tuskegee. And just as an aside, the Creeks were a confederacy. Each town had their own chief and their own council and their own territory, compared to the Cherokee and the Seminole, where you had a nation of all Seminoles or all Cherokee. So that's what they meant about Tuskegee. That was our town. How long have you lived in Creek Nation? All my life. How long have you lived in the Creek Nation? Have you been outside the territory? No. So these are my great-grandmother's very words. It's very, very empowering, very, very stimulating, very, very exciting. And that's just a small portion of it. So as I've gotten older, like I said, I've found since 55, I'm 72 now, I've become more emotionally involved in my multicultural experience, opportunity. And I vote for the chiefs, I vote for the National Council. I coordinated a meeting of the candidates for offices in California about 2-3 years ago. Powwows don't turn me on, although I like some of the products they sell at those various stands. But the dancing seems quite artificial to me, and it doesn't really celebrate my particular tribe specifically. So as time has passed, I do identify more with my multicultural background, and I'm more comfortable with it. And I don't feel like a black person being invaded by a new culture. So it's been a quite experience and quite a trial, and I look forward to more of my family joining the nation. My grandkids joined the nation last month, so I'm very, very proud of that. I'm very pleased with that. And to be honest with you, it's worth it. You know, we don't get money at all. We get benefits. If you die, you get $2,000. You get a $300 allotment every year for a child. If you're in college, you get $2,500. And 2 cousins have taken advantage of the college. One cousin got $30,000 over 4 years from the nation. And what she did, she got money from the nation. She also applied for federal dollars, which is not typical. The federal dollars normally require you to be 1/4 Indian. You have to prove it. And what she found out through trial and error was that if there are not enough candidates qualified for that 1/4 benefit, it's opened up to all citizens regardless of degree or blood. So she benefited through that process. So I'm still a family historian. I still promote multicultural experiences. I still promote joining the tribe and so forth. So it's been a trip, a wonderful trip. And I enjoyed the chance to share this with you. And that's all. Thank you.